Hi, I'm Michelle Olivier, and you're listening to Hey, I Want Your Job, the podcast that looks at amazing jobs and what it takes to get them. Welcome to Hey, I Want Your Job. And today I am blessed to be joined by Dr. Tamara Beckford. No points for guessing what she might do. I always say if I want their job or not. No, I have never my entire life wanted this job, but I am so infinitely, and I think the entire world is so infinitely grateful for what Dr. Beckford and all of her colleagues have doing for us, that I am super excited to get to talk to you. So just for the record, Tamara, what is your job title?
I am an emergency medicine physician, and we welcome you over to this side. You can come and join us.
Oh, my days. Oh, I have so many questions. This has been, like, we've all been through a lot, but y'all have been through a lot,
Oh, yes.
Tamara. A lot. So I'm gonna jump right in if that's okay.
Hey, go ahead.
One of the things, so I want to know, how did it happen? Like, how did you, like, was it the picture people have in their head that, like, as a little girl, you walked around with a plastic stethoscope and you were like, healing all of, like, the neighborhood cats and Barbie dolls, and now, like, that's always been the plan, was to be Dr. Tamara? Whereas there's some, like, pivotal moment in your life where you were like, I have to heal the people? Like, how did this happen? How did you get here?
Well, interestingly, I got here by first thinking that I was going to be a pharmacist. So it's like, yes, I'm going to do pharmacy. So I did a summer program. At this point, I was living in Newark, New Jersey. And so I did a summer program at the local medical school, which, sidebar, like 10 years later, I attended that medical school as a student. But at that point, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be a pharmacy. So they had a careers program, and the pharmacist had no idea what to do with a high school student who had not taken chemistry, has no clue. And so they were like, you know what, I know what we do. Let's put you at the bottom in the basement, and let's have you filing some medical records for us. And if anyone has ever looked at their medical record, you know that it's at least 11 numbers long. And imagine trying to file tons of that in numerical order.
Thank God for computers. Thank God for computers.
This is way before computers. This was not a computer. This is like really those beige manila envelopes. That's you and I. And so I said, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So I applied the next year. And, I said, maybe I'll try to shadow a doctor and see what they do. And lo and behold, I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. So this is like around maybe 14 years of age. That's when I got exposed. So that was that pivotal moment. Being placed in the basement to file stuff in numerical order took away my pharmaceutical career.
That is amazing to me, because normally when you hear a story of how somebody became a doctor, there's like some moment of medical trauma, right? Either like daddy and granddad and everybody's been a doctor, and so now I'm a doctor too, or it's like my little brother got cancer and I decided I was going to heal the world, right? Like
mine is, I'm not filing
your
stuff
trauma is I love it.
Oh, manila envelopes in numerical order. That's my trauma.
I am just glad you didn't have the other kind of trauma, Tamara.
Absolutely.
So that's incredible. And so then you went into medicine and you thought, what sort of medicine should I practice? Should I be a dermatologist and deal mostly like with a cosmetic surgeon and make tons and tons of money? Should I play with babies and be an OB-GYN? And you thought, no. What I want to do is the single most thankless version of medicine that also correspondingly has the highest risk, the least predictable hours,
right,
and the least opportunity for balance with my personal life. I think that's where I want to go. Yay!
I checked all the boxes. I was like, yes, this is it. So, my first exposure to emergency medicine actually occurred, I would say it was still like in the 90s at that point in time. And I saw this really cool female doc. She was female, she was pregnant, and
Representation
she was,
matters.
yes, and she was like a really bad, you know what, and she was teaching all the residents, like, you know, all the residents on how to be an ER doc. And so I was like, whoa. And she just had a really cool personality. Now, that's one thing you'll kind of notice in medicine. People within certain specialty, they kind of have personalities that are similar. So I'm like, whoa, you can actually have a personality and be a doctor? I think I like this. Like, so these people laugh. Oh wow, like, you know, so you're not like super serious. It's not like what you see on TV when it's like stats and you know, you're like mumbling and you have a frown on your face all the time. Like, wow, so people with personality. So I gravitated towards that. And then they did a lot of cool things. They did procedures, they took care of anything that came in. You know, you're like, okay, I stopped. My ankle is to the left, but my, you know, the rest of my legs to the right. Oh, well, hey, we can handle that. It's kind of like that Staples. Hey, we got that. You know, every little thing. Hey, we got that. We can take care of that too. So it was really a great way to practice medicine and just be able to see everything and be able to do everything and have an idea of everyone's specialty. So that's what drew me to emergency medicine. And yeah, you're right. Ours are
Say,
crazy.
yeah.
Everything is crazy about emergency medicine. And maybe you can even say that ER docs have a tinge of craziness within them too. I'll allow
So,
it.
full disclosure, one of my oldest and dearest friends is an ER doc.
Hey, there it
And
is.
he is definitely on the crazy spectrum. Do not get me wrong. Do not. Love him long time, but oh, call a duck, right?
Yes,
Um, and
that
like
part.
so I have a question. So he travels, he chooses to do about an
Welcome.
hour and change
Mm-hmm.
commute one way for where
Mm-hmm.
he works. And he was like, do you know why? That is because I do not want to wind up at the grocery store.
With my patients.
That's right. No, thank you. He was like,
Yeah.
they're crazy enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need the junkie that I turned down for a new script 3 times last month and he doesn't remember because he's a junkie showing up in the produce aisle being like, hey, doc, give us a script. He's like, I just don't need that in my life. I don't need them knowing who my wife is or what my kids look like. Just no, no, no. Like I
There's a
said,
certain
he's a
level.
crazy person.
Yes.
So is that like, do you feel the same? Because you're nodding here. So I'm thinking that you're like,
It's true. I mean, one of the things about like emergency medicine is that you're seeing some people at their weakest points.
yeah.
So sometimes it's great to be able to see that patient outside and you're like, yes, they survived. Oh, you look so awesome. But at the same time, you know, we do see some people, like we said, at their weakest points where they're altered, they're confused, they might be on substances. And you know, it is also a very dangerous job. Let's just be honest. So
Yeah.
that person who you refused that script, they might not be the nicest person. They could be upset or their family members are upset. You never know. So in order to protect your family, I mean, this is your job. You're trying to heal and you're trying to make the best decision for that person when they are unable to make that decision themselves. You know, they might be under the influence, but it's a job where people get violent. So yeah, you have to really protect yourself and protect your family. And if not being in the area where working and living in that same area might just be one way to do that.
And that is one of the big things I learned on this podcast last
Mm-hmm.
season. I had an ER nurse on, and I made some comment that was like I thought it was one of those we were using the same words to mean two very different things. So
Okay.
I said something about people being abusive, and I was thinking words. She heard
No.
that and immediately thought, no, they tried to punch me. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, is that a thing? And she was like, girl.
Oh yes.
And I was like, I
Tearing computers out of the wall, throwing phones and breaking the TVs in the rooms. Yes. when patients are altered and confused, some people, I mean, that happens, but some people are just mean. Some of these
Mm.
people, they are confused, but some people are,
They're not
they're just
confused. They're
upset.
just an asshole. So,
You call the doc the doc.
so here's my question. One of the things we hear a lot about the medical industry in particular right now is
Mhm,
that there is compassion fatigue,
mm,
right? That
mhm,
you see the same thing over and over and you feel it's hard to keep caring the same
mhm,
amount, right?
mhm,
Like it, I know this as a mom. My kid comes to me, my leg hurts. My leg hurts. By the fourth, my leg hurts. Like he could walk up to me and be gushing blood, and I'd be like, "Ugh, shake it off or cut it off, kid. Back you go, right? Like because it's just gets exhausting. Like the first 15 times you hear it, and that's on a small scale.
mhm,
You're dealing, as you said, with people who are consistently at the worst moment of their life
mhm.
going through and then at the same time having them try to throw a computer at your head. How do you ward off um that empathy exhaustion? How do you keep showing up emotionally with every single patient that you treat?
So it's interesting, and that's a great question because it is a challenge, especially for those who are consistently working now, right? We're
Mm,
having compassion fatigue with a lot of things. We haven't even hit the big Rona. But with that, one of the ways that I do it, and it is that I do compartmentalize things. And so I have to recognize that when I'm at work, that, I'm at work. And whatever happens at work, I let it stay at work. And when I come home, I try to rarely bring work home with me. That helps me to look forward to a place of serenity, peace, happiness. When I get to work, if it's chaotic, I come in with a great spirit and just like, hey, we're gonna have a great night. I work nights only, so that must be even crazier. I love the look in your face. So yes, you can have my jobs. Yes, already, Dr. Michelle.
nope.
No, no, okay, alrighty. Well, I'll continue. No worries.
Mm,
So actually, yeah, you can get a lot of fatigue if you aren't finding outlets, ways in how to deal with it. Because even within a shift itself, there's a varying range of emotions that occur, right? Because you can have that patient, as you mentioned, might, unfortunately be an addict and they're there consistently for the same thing, but they have that illness, they're an addict. And
yeah.
then from that end, you can move to someone else who is there with belly pain, and you're like, oh, and then you found out that they just lost the baby, and that's an emotional trauma, like, oh, it's a ruptured ectopic, and this is a wanted baby and you've lost it, and then you can go from there to grandma who is 95, and grandma like just didn't make it, and everyone's just sad, and then you go and then you just help someone deliver a baby, and everyone's happy, and this is all one shift, and you're just like, your emotions are, so you have to compartmentalize it in order to really, because when I'm sad from grandma dying or from someone losing, and then you go to the next room, that other patient, they're seeing me for the first time.
Hmm.
So when I show up, I still have to show up as this person who, think about the doctor you're seeing for the first time. If they're coming in and they're always moping, that's your first interaction with them,
Yeah.
right? So you have to learn how to compartmentalize it. But because of that, it becomes challenging, and it can lead to a lot of burnout and fatigue later on. But that's how I handle it. And then when I do other things when I get home in order to release stress.
So you mentioned the big C, so let's go.
Rona,
And I feel
Rona,
like that's
Rona.
changed. It's not cancer anymore, right? The new one,
The
like
big
the new
C is
big
now the
C,
Rona.
yeah, the Rhoda. It's called the big R.
The big
Um,
R, right?
so I get that. I hear that. One of the things that my friend who's the ER doctor
Mm-hmm.
has confided to me that he is struggling with, and I'm interested to hear if you think this is a universal experience,
Mm-hmm.
is that he was always really good at that, and then COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees people come in and home is the same as work. And those boundaries and that compartmentalization, that for health providers, COVID ate that.
Yes.
Because now it's not, oh my God, here's this horrible car accident that happened. Thank God my family is safe. And I'm going to go home to my house. I'm going to kiss my babies and it's going to be separate. No,
Yes.
there's COVID there. I see COVID every day. And now I come home and I'm scared for my babies to have COVID. I'm scared that my grandma is going to be the next one on that ventilator.
Mm-hmm.
And that it just meant that you couldn't stop seeing the faces of your loved ones on your patients and the faces of your patients on your loved ones.
Absolutely.
Is that, God bless y'all. I don't know how you do it because I can't do it as a layperson with the news. Do you know what I mean? Like, you hear the statistics, and all I can hear is, my mom is 68, and she's right in that, right in the sweet spot, right? So,
Yeah.
how are you sitting here smiling after like 2 years of this? Like, talk to me about what your strategy is and how you're keeping sane.
Absolutely, absolutely. What your friend and my colleague is going through, it is definitely universal. There's a lot of there was the first portion was fear, then we got to fatigue and anxiety, and that's where we are. We're in the anxiety phase, especially now when there are a couple things that will bring on this anxiety that your colleague or my colleague and your friend is mentioning. One is that if you haven't gotten COVID so far, it looks like you're gonna get it. Like, oh, well, everybody, like, okay, well, I guess it's almost here. It's very close, but I think it's probably gonna happen to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two, if you have kids and your kids are not in the zone where they can be vaccinated, like I do. I have a 3-year-old.
Yep.
I have a
3
3
and
and a
5.
5-year-old.
So I feel you.
Yes,
Yep.
me. Yay. There we go.
2
So the
boys.
5-year-old and the 3-year-old went because, they have to go everywhere together. I'm pretty sure you understand how that works.
I do
So
indeed.
5-year-old is getting his vaccine. The 3-year-old is upset. Like, why am I not getting a vaccine? So, you get donuts in order to appease that. So, but at the same time, when you're seeing your patients, and you having to do your decon when you come home, like I have a routine. Like, I don't even enter my door through the front. I enter through the garage, and I take off all my clothes, so I make sure I close the garage door. We don't want to.
I mean, I don't know, maybe you're like neighbor of the year tomorrow. I
Maybe I am.
wasn't gonna judge.
But I do close the garage door, and I take off my work clothes and I put it in a bin in the garage. And then I run, and I kind of learn all of this from watching football, and I dodge my kids. I
Okay.
fake them
Okay.
out,
Yeah. Fake.
dodge them,
Yeah. Got it. Got
exactly,
it.
do the
Uh-huh.
to them
Uh-huh.
and the turn, and then I go to the shower and burn my skin off with hot water. AKA, I take a hot shower. Most
Yeah. Yeah.
females take hot showers, so they understand what that means. Males do not get upset. I'm not burning myself. Females understand we take a hot shower, but that's really like your routine of getting rid of that. Now, when this COVID started, a lot of us had no idea what this was, right? And you have to keep in mind, like us in the healthcare field, especially in the frontline workers, we didn't have the luxury of staying home. We had to go to work. So when you're going to work with this virus that's unknown, how does it spread? We're not really sure. Hey, we need you to use N95s. Okay. Can I throw it away after each use like I did before? No, I need you to wear it the whole shift. What? So before we were able to throw off the N95s away with each use, each time we went into the patient's room, we came out, we threw that one away. Now you're having to wear it the entire shift. Is this safe? I don't know. Wait a
Best we
minute. So
got.
am I having to bring this home? How am I being safe? Well, we're trying our best. Okay. This is scary. I have kids at home. My kid had a respiratory infection like 4 months before COVID, and he was in the hospital. So can you imagine the fear and anxiety that's happening with me? So how did I get through all of this? one, I got an outlet. I was able to, join others in an online community where I was able to really look at other ways to process this. I started. That's when I started my Your Caring Docs, and that's when I started making videos on health and videos on medicine, and I started putting it out there every Friday. If two people watched it, hey, it didn't matter. 6:30, I was out there. And so I found outlets in order to really help. And after a while, I started looking forward to it. Every, Friday, I would just make a video on something. And just because I found it's easier to give and pour in order to bring my stress level down. Then others started watching and they said, oh, now I understand what this is. And then when I found my role in helping with this pandemic was to show people the real person dealing with it, right? The COVID vaccine came out. We were told, hey, you're going to turn into an alien. Yeah, if you get right. So what did I do? I tried not to turn into an alien. I showed you, hey, I'm getting my COVID vaccine. Here I am. Day 1, these are my symptoms. Day 2, this is how I'm feeling. Day 3, guess what? I'm still not an alien, right? So that was how I dealt with it. I dealt with it by going external. Now, mind you, before this, I was not really on social media. I had wiped out all my social media presence. But this helped me putting things out there and really just helping others was able to help to bring down my level of stress. And that's how I've been doing from then on. And it's helped me. Yeah,
I think that makes so much sense, because part of the anxiety, part of the fear comes from the feeling of powerlessness, right?
Absolutely.
That we can't do anything about it. That as a mom, I can't throw myself in front of a bullet to save my babies because it's the air. And I can't, I can't be, don't breathe, nobody breathe anything. Right? That's not an option.
Yes.
So I totally that speaks absolutely to my heart about how that would help. So then you talked about the vaccine there. So let's talk about the vaccine, because I feel like one of the things that was amazing to me as somebody not in your community to see was not just how we as a nation or world or whatever have you were cheering and they go you. I feel like that makes sense. But the way that you within the healthcare community came together. And I know, again, because I have friends in the community, that there's always been little nurses, doctors, surgeons, it's not always kumbaya.
No, it's not. This is just
So yeah. But then COVID, and suddenly it was we're a team and screw the rest. And it was amazing. And then the vaccine came. And all of a sudden, you've got people walking out, protesting, being, nasty about the fact that in a profession that has always had mandatory vaccinations, always, because of something that felt political. I know how I would feel if I were you. How did and do you feel about that?
It was and is disheartening. I'll be honest. Now, there are many aspects of this vaccine. Oh, we're not sure. I'm waiting for research. How much longer? And especially what saddens me is when I see the younger people coming in and they're very sick, and or you hear, yeah, this 30-something-year-old, yeah, he passed. He has a 4-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old daughter. There's so many lives that are lost, I think, unnecessarily from that aspect. And then also from the aspect as a healthcare worker, I've interviewed some colleagues, and some people, they said that they're getting spat on because they've talked about, having wearing masks or getting vaccinated. So you go from being a hero to spitting on me. I don't know about anyone, but spitting is one of the rudest thing I think anyone can ever do.
In a pandemic, it's dangerous. Like,
Thank you.
that is,
Like,
I'm all about that's assault right there. You spit on me in a pandemic and you're
that
spitting
is an
on me
assault.
as an unvaccinated person.
That
That's
it's I
assault with
just
a
think it's
potentially
just
deadly weapon, and no thank you. Yeah, no,
it's just like so rude, and but when you do something like that, like how is it that you expect someone to really come and continue to put themselves on the line when you treat someone that way? And that's where the challenge lies, right? And that's where the divide lies. And it's at the facility where we're working, I'm in Houston. I work at one of the largest institutions here in Houston, and they have mandatory vaccinations, and there were protests and so on, but everyone is 100% of the employees or workers there are vaccinated. Now rest assured, we have this next wave that came out right now. We're dealing with Omicron. We're almost at, we're heading towards the end of the Greek alphabet. So we're at Omicron right now.
Rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. We got 9 left tomorrow.
We don't want to know all of it. So with that in mind, though, there's still a lot of people who are catching COVID, but their symptoms are milder than those who haven't been vaccinated. And that's what we're saying. That it's eventually, I think eventually everyone's going to get COVID. It's out there. It's going to become endemic. It's really there. But my thought to anyone is, do you want to play Russian roulette?
You don't have to die from it, right? That's really, you can choose to be uncomfortable for, a week or two, or you can choose to die. Your choice.
Might not even be that long. Some of them were just like, I just had a stuffy nose, and I'm like, I had a headache, a stuffy nose. It went away day 2, but I went and got tested and I'm positive. So, okay, I'll just quarantine. Like sometimes it's really that mild, a stuffy nose. So it's not even that like I'm coughing, I'm hacking up my lungs. No, it's a stuffy nose. So with that, it's just like, well, do you want to do that? Or you want to hack up your lungs and be placed on oxygen and, gasping for air? I mean, it's brutal out there for those who are dealing with it. It's brutal seeing someone who is, we call tripoded, like they're sitting forward. And, with that, their oxygen is in the 80s. A normal oxygen should be as close to 100 as possible. It's brutal watching someone gasp for air and knock over their oxygen, or even the tube, and then it pops out and their oxygen level drops and you have to rush and put it back in so that the oxygen. I mean, this is not something that I want people to go through, but these are things that people are going through. So when we are out there and really trying to advocate for you and say, please do this for you or for the other person, there's a reason. Now, I know that some people are like, well, they're immunocompromised and they didn't, because you're immunocompromised is why I care. I have friends who have battled during COVID, right before COVID, actually, breast cancer, on chemo. She got her vaccine. She was able to beat cancer. Thank you. And then, she's gotten her vaccine and her booster, and boom, what did happen? COVID. And guess who has beat COVID too? Because she's vaccinated and all she had was the stuffy nose, achy, went to sleep, drank lots of fluid, hydrated, boom, now she's back. And this is someone who is continually on tamoxifen. They've beat COVID, they've beat cancer, but they've done it making sure that they're vaccinated and they've protected themselves as best as possible. So it's important for people to hear these stories.
Yes.
So no.
And I just feel like, I guess that's what keeps bringing me back to the whole medical staff protesting and them being part of that problem. Like, girl, you're a better human than I if those people walked out protesting then one day and the next day you welcomed them back onto the team with open arms, because I don't think I could do it. I really don't. And I'm just not that good of a person, because I can respect differences, but this is not, this is you want to endanger me, you, my patients. Like,
Well, I
we
think
took an
that
oath. I mean,
most of
come on
them
now.
that came back, they came back. You mean like after they got vaccinated and then came
Well,
back?
and yeah, so the people and yeah, that protested and then they're like, we're not going to do it. How dare you try to tell me, okay, fine, I'll go get the vaccination if you're really going to fire me. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just,
They
I
were
don't know that
trying.
I could forgive and forget on that one. Like, how do you do that?
Well, I mean, sometimes you have to let people, some people, remember, not everyone who is doing that or going out truly believes it. You have some people who are followers, you know, and then you have some people who, once they are made aware of how dangerous it is, it's not just an easy, like, oh, well, I don't feel like taking my flu shot,
These
or
are
I don't.
nurses and people in the like healthcare. Like,
Yeah,
they don't get the
yeah.
ignorance excuse. They've been there on the
No, no,
front
no. There,
line.
I mean,
Yeah.
there are, and everyone, but the way that I look at life,
Hmm.
I feel like if you say to someone, I need you to go left, you're gonna get a lot of people that says, I don't
Right.
want to go left. I don't care. It's my right to go right. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a U-turn right now because of the fact you gave me a directive.
Just gonna sit here on the floor and you can't. I mean, again, we have kids the same age. You know, that's my life on the daily. So yes,
It's like,
I absolutely understand and hear what
and
you're
and
saying
and
there.
that's the fact
I
that
think
we're
that's a
even
good
we're
perspective
comparing it to our kids, that shows you.
for real, though. Again, with you being a nicer person than me, this is getting to be very well documented throughout this conversation. So I- we've had one controversial topic, so let's switch to a different one.
Why
Why
not?
not? Let's just keep that ball rolling. So there have been some articles that have come out about some realities of medical professions with some shocking information about beliefs, about things that have actually been taught that doctors are acting on that
Mhm,
pertain to people with more melanin in their skin.
mhm, mhm,
And it made me sick as somebody who does not have a lot of melanin in my skin.
mhm,
I cannot imagine, as a beautiful Black woman in the
mhm.
medical community, not wanting to go out and just punch every one of them. I guess my first
Well,
question is, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, right?
mhm,
So in your experience as a professional and as the very, like, this Black women are the group that those statistics are most talking about, right? That the
mhm,
myths about Black women and their bodies are insane. That
mhm,
apparently you guys don't feel pain. You're like,
mhm.
what was one of the other big ones? Your skin is thicker. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yes, there are
Have
a lot
like,
of nonsense.
how
Absolutely.
pervasive in your experience is this? Because again, those statistics, those reports make it sound like it's everywhere. Is that actually your experience, or is it a few bad apples, or like, talk me through what's reality?
Okay. I think in order for our listeners to truly understand what's going on, I can't recall the name of the gynecologist, but let's bring him back in time. We're during the time of when of slavery here in the United States, and there was a gynecologist, and for all our women out there, all our men, I'll give you a male appropriation of this, because sometimes you're like, well, I don't deliver babies, so I don't understand what that feels like. Okay, no worries, I got you. So for the females, so this gynecologist would do C-sections on Black
Marion Sims, just FYI.
Sims, yes,
Mhm.
Marion Sims, yes, would do the C-sections on these enslaved Black women without anesthesia. He would do hysterectomies and a lot of procedures without anesthesia, because although the women are screaming in pain, they apparently did not feel pain. So now when you bring that forth into the more closer to the modern stage. We're not even like completely at the modern age. One of the aspects I think that has happened is that with Black women, they've had to be stoic, and and they've had to always show a strong face, especially in front of adversity. Like, we have to be strong and strong. So then, oh, well, no, you do not experience pain, right? Because you're strong, and you're having to be strong for your family. Although tears might be rolling down your eyes or welling in your eyes, you're not experiencing pain. So what the advent now has happened is that people have been conditioned, or they were being trained in from the times of Marion Sims onward, that Black women do not experience pain similar to their white counterparts. So although we're doing the exact same thing to both human beings, the Black woman was not experiencing the pain. And as you mentioned, there were because I think that's the one thing about, like, everyone can really make a statistic seems appropriate to them, right? And that our skins are thicker. Oh, that's one of the reasons we don't experience pain. Even for babies, they even thought about the same thing. Babies don't experience pain. Oh, they're so young, they don't experience pain. And I mean, obviously, this is not true. If you're screaming, there's a reason why you're screaming, right? So, in my experience, have I seen that Black women are not experiencing pain as the same level as white? No. I think they're just people. And then when you're talking about people with pain tolerance, are some people have stronger pain tolerance than others? Yes.
I meant more,
Um,
have you seen doctors treating Black women as if
with others. So
as
now with that in mind, have I seen that? I haven't directly seen it. However, I can tell you what I do in my experience. And the reasons why I can't see it, because in emergency medicine, everyone treats their own patient. So we're not like like the oncology on this team, and we're not rounding together. So I'll see what the other person wrote for my patient and they didn't write for that. Like, I take care of that person myself. Yeah. So it's like
but
a
you've
team of
also been a
me.
Black woman for a few years now.
Oh yeah, I've been,
And
yeah,
you've
no,
had some
I'll tell
babies.
you my experience in
Yeah.
in the field, which is, but then also I'm a doctor,
So they treat you differently.
so I might get treated differently.
Gotcha.
And then especially if I'm going to places that knows that I'm a doctor, right? Because you have to quote unquote break the glass on the medical record. You can't just go into the record. It's like, well, why are you in this record? Are you doing direct patient care? Or you? So there's an alert that you work for the system. So I have been treated well. I haven't had the negative treatment because I really wasn't in the healthcare system as a younger kid prior to going to medicine. But so I can't always attest that my care is similar to other Black females, because once you're alerted that you're a
Yeah.
doctor, it might change. However, I'll tell you what I do. I try, because I know the bias exists, and the bias is, like, sometimes it's an implicit bias that exists, and sometimes people, they're unaware. So I try to do I'm a little bit work harder with my Black patients than I do, especially my Black females, because and I feel it when they enter into the emergency room and they get a doctor. I already feel the tension that majority of them have. They, and I remember even when I was starting a company, and I put a survey out, and it was just asking, hey, what are some ways in order to ensure that I can take care of our people well? And I remember, and this really hit me, this Black female says, well, I don't even know if I'd even want to be treated through like telemedicine, because my doctors don't even listen to me in person, and I feel like it'll be even worse over, like, the telemedicine. And I mean, that hit me to the core. And I'm like, wow. And, I'm like, these are the reasons why I am out here talking, because I don't think that we should be felt that way, because we shouldn't be experiencing that way in the healthcare. We're all here seeking care. So when I step in there and I sense that, I really take the extra time to break things down. I've had patients, I step in and I'm like, hey, well, hey, well, this is going on. And tears are rolling down your eyes. And I'm sitting, so I sit on the bed and I'm like, well, why are you crying? Well, I don't feel like, this person's listening to me. Well, why? Talk to me and tell me why. Why? Let me know, break down. Well, I felt this way. And this doctor just like, they just brushed me off and they just said, just take this. And no one explained it to me. Okay, well, I'll explain it to you. Come, talk to me. Let me know, what are your fears, because a lot of this is based on a lot of fear that I'm not going to be heard, I'm not going to be treated fairly, you're going to just push me out, I'm still not going to understand what's going on, and then in the end you probably say something negative about me. So I try to do my part in sitting. Now, if I'm around and I'll ever see any of my colleagues handling any patients negatively, then yeah, I need to handle that.
They'd be pretty dumb to do that in front of you. I'm not gonna lie, right?
Huh?
And they'd be pretty dumb to do that in front of you.
And
And
that's the
they're
thing,
doctors, so they're probably smart enough to know better than that.
to know
So,
better,
yeah,
right? No, but even like saying things like, I mean,
I
there have
bet.
been like, well, what kind of name is that? Well, what kind of name is your name? I've had to do those retorts over the phone. Who names their kid that? Who names their kid your name?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we both live in Texas, so I also understand that regionally
Oh
it's
yeah,
even more
and
so.
that's not even just here.
Mm. But
No,
it's
that's
not.
all over.
Yes, but
Yeah,
Texas is worse in a lot
yeah.
of ways. Let's be honest, Tamara. Like,
we understand. You understand, but I mean, that bias against names and again, I mean, even just names. I mean, like you worked in HRA, you
yeah, I mean,
so yeah, so
I
names,
understand. I'm a recruiter, same thing, right? So people see
mhm.
names on resumes, people worry about
And
it. Absolutely. Yeah,
there's a reason why sometimes the names is H dot middle name blah blah blah.
absolutely. I had to educate a hiring manager the other day. They were like, "Well, I looked at their LinkedIn and they didn't even have their picture on there." I was like, "I'm gonna stop you right there. Why do you think that matters?
I
Why do
know.
you think you're entitled to know what they look like? You need to know if they can do Java programming. What
Yeah.
they look like has no
Mhm.
bearing, and it is a whole lot of none yet, to be perfectly honest with you."
Mhm.
And then I was like, and here, by the way, is a list of reasons that they might not want every Yahoo on the internet to know what they look like. And then he was like, "No, I just feel like a jerk." Good. Don't do it again.
Welcome. Thank you for understanding.
Step 1, understand that you're an asshole. Step 2, fix it.
Step 3, go back to step 1.
Exactly. Well, like, I mean, so I'm Native, and
Mhm.
every Thanksgiving, tomorrow,
Mhm.
I'm down at the school. Please, can we not have the Thanksgiving pageant? Oh, but I understand, Sally McWhiteface, that
Mhm.
this for you is a celebration of your youth.
Mhm.
This for my people is something very different. It is
Mhm.
perpetuation of the lies that your people have been telling about us for hundreds of years while you continue to systemically oppress us, steal our culture, and generally, I mean, like, come on now. And they're like, and every time they act like I'm the Karen here, right? And I'm like, I feel like
You're surprised every November.
every November. Well, because kids move schools and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I
every
understand.
every school, this is like a thing, and I'm just like, and every single time when I do it, right, I'm bitching to my friends, and all of my friends that are more melanated than me are like, "Welcome to my life, but you only have it 1 month of the year."
Mhm. Well, we're glad
Every
that
day.
you're stepping in.
And we're laughing about it, but I mean, I think it's one of those, like, you gotta laugh or cry, right? So,
Absolutely. That's
and
emergency medicine. Now you understand. You have to laugh or cry. That's literally emergency medicine.
There you go. I still don't want to do it. There's still not enough money in the goddamn
I
world.
think there is a spot. I have like a really great colleague who is a chairperson, and we can start the training process right now.
Nope.
Nope.
Good.
Okay.
I'm a really good recruiter. I'm gonna stay right here. Same. I found my niche, Tamara. I'm happy here. So, on top of all of this, with all of your
Mhm.
self-awareness and things that you've done to start helping others, giving back, one of the many things that you do is help people with self-care,
Yeah.
particularly women who might be very busy at work and perhaps do not spend the time that their therapist tells them they're supposed to be spending in terms of self-care. So, Um, I want to talk to you about that because I'm a
Mhm.
huge believer in self-care, not always a practitioner, but always a believer.
Yes.
And I have questions.
Okay.
When people hear the word self-care, they picture
Mm-hmm.
bubble baths and Yankee Candle and
Okay.
alcohol. As a doctor, I cannot believe you have ever told somebody, what I want you to do is go take a bubble bath and drink some alcohol. That does not sound like a thing.
No.
So as a medical professional, tell me, what is self-care actually? What does
Mhm.
that mean? Let's start there.
Okay. So self-care, the first and foremost, it differs for everyone. That's the first thing. And it's a care that you've taken time to yourself in order to improve upon yourself. And in doing so, you help to release your stress, all of the burdens from the day. In the end, you improve your mood, which will improve a lot of the hormones within your body, improve your immune system. And all of this is from care that you take for yourself. Now, as we said, self care differs for everyone. If you can tell the average person, and that's where we're like, oh, self care, go and get a manicure and a pedicure. Oh, that might be self care for you, but that might be torture for me. So you want me to, that's
Yes,
why self
yes. I hate bubble baths. I hate them so much.
See, with another person, they're like, "Oh, I cannot wait." I mean, even if you guys look at my social media, I interviewed one of my like my husband's aunt. She's 84 years old. And I asked her, like, with self-care, how did it change? Like once your kids got older, and she's like, "Oh, I was able to take these long bubble baths." She was just like, she was a nurse for like, I don't know. She became a nurse in the 1950s, so you can
Oh, wow.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it differs for everyone, right? One of the aspects of self-care that's important, though, is that there's some time to yourself that's important for you to rejuvenate, to reinvigorate yourself. Now, that might mean that you will take time to either meditate, if that's what makes you happy. Some people, it might just be a mindless show, right? Like, oh my gosh, oh, America's Next Top Model. Oh, here we go. Season whatever, right? A mindless show. If it's you watching HGTV and thinking you're gonna build
Great
and be the
British
next
Bake Off. Self-care for the masses. Am I right?
Say that
Absolutely.
again.
Great British Bake Off.
Yes, I love it.
You
I
must
love
have
it. I
seen. Tell
do
me you.
love it.
Okay, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
the cha-ching. I forgot what is the. There's a phrase that the person gets one in the British Bake Off. I forgot. I
Uh,
can't recall the phrase right now.
the Star
But
Baker person or the Paula?
yeah, when they do well, they get
Oh, they get the
they get a
handshake.
well, not just the handshake. Other than they get more side eyes than they get
They get a
handshakes.
lot of side eyes. For real,
Lots of side
though.
eyes on British
Yes.
Bake Off.
No.
But needless to say, it might be that, or for some people, it's a
Sure.
self-help book, right?
Okay.
Self-help. You read for 20 or 30 minutes a day. For me, I use a lot of morning, or I don't call it morning routine because I work at night. So my morning routine is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I call it a wake up routine. So when I wake up, the first thing I do is make sure that I'm not picking up and jumping on social media. That's my me time. I protect my mind. I protect it. I read. I meditate for a little. But for me, meditating is ruminating on what I read. Well, I wonder what that person meant. Can I apply this to myself? How is it? I infuse myself with positivity, if you haven't noticed.
I love it.
I
I think one of the things that and I'd like to run this past you as an expert, one of the things that my therapist tells me
Mhm.
regularly.
I love your
I'm
laugh in that, like, I don't do it, but she tells me, go ahead.
She keeps saying it. Every time she's like, I feel like if I just keep saying it, maybe,
One day.
it'll happen, right? She's like, you keep
Mhm.
paying me to say it, so here I go. But one of the things that she tells me is that self-care is about taking a designated amount of time to do only one thing
Mhm.
that makes you happy and at peace.
Yep.
And if that one thing is watching a crappy reality show, awesome. That one thing is reading a book, awesome. What self-care is not for her
Mhm.
is it does not count if I watch the crappy reality show while I'm on my phone.
No.
It does not count if I watch the crappy reality show while working out.
Mhm.
One thing. She's like, I don't care what the thing is.
It's
One
because
thing.
there is peace with just turning the mind off.
Mhm.
We are a generation and a society of constant motion, constant juggling of ideas, constant. We're like, oh, we thrive on saying that I can multitask. I'm the multitask. Okay, am I hitting a nerve here?
Oh, no, I just hate that
Okay.
because we have all of this, like, empirical data that says that that's not true. Like, you
No, your
can't
mind really is
multitask.
only
Yeah,
working on
yeah,
one thing at a
absolutely.
time. And you're like working on D minus on everything when you're working at the same time. Don't think you're a star student at one point, and but to really take the time and pull away from that and just clear your mind. It's just so important. But I don't think we realize it's so important because we feel like, well, I have so much to do. So if I take this time away, then I'm not going to be able to get all these other things done, which is actually the opposite because you increase your acuity and how sharp you are if you can give your mind a break and then you get back to it, right? There's a reason why, like some of our top presidents, they took naps. Weren't taking naps because they wanted to be sharp, right?
Mhm.
They weren't taking naps because they're like, well, I'm
There's so
95.
much data that naps are a good thing and that we should all be taking naps. And
Yes,
yeah, I absolutely
we
love that. So,
yeah, we have to learn to turn it off sometimes.
what is like we've given the example of like, you know, watching a show or something. How much time and
Mhm.
with what frequency does real self-care need to be given for the average person? Obviously, everybody's different, blah blah blah, but like for the average person, what does that need to look like?
I think the average, and this is not data driven. This is
Sure.
really just personal thing. I think the average person can take at least 30 minutes. And that's actually I built a program around this. 30 minutes to themselves at least once a week.
Okay.
If it
Now,
really is.
see,
And
you
I
should
realize
talk to
that,
my therapist because that I could do. I could do
yes,
that tomorrow.
there
She
are
wants me to do 30 minutes a day.
730 hours in a week. 730. I'm like, you can dedicate 30 minutes. There's 730 hours in a month, pardon me. And so in a month, I think you can dedicate at least 2 hours to yourself and you can break it up, because if you really sit, now, self-care is doing that. Now you can have morning routines. If you do morning routines, and some people, if you follow like Jay Shetty, like the 20 and all those other things, 20, in the mornings, get up an hour earlier and do all the 20 read movements and then like meditate, like that's great. But I know that a lot of people won't do that. But at least if you say, you know what, I'm going to dedicate this 30 minutes and I'm really going to be at peace, even if it's resting my mind, meditating, trying to empty my mind and really build myself back up. Even if it's a breathing exercise, I mean, that's still, even all of that is still challenging. Meditation it's not easy. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna close my, no, to really empty your mind is challenging. Read something that's gonna really just make you feel good. The biggest thing, and which is something that people really don't do, is that gratitude journal. Now, if ever you want to boost yourself up, you write down all the things that you're really thankful for. It really, once you step out of there and someone hits you with a negativity, it just bounces off. You're like, yeah, that's fine. I'm just so happy for all these other things. That's just a flicker of all the thing that's going on. So there are just so many ways to go about it, but the biggest thing is that you have to do what is right for you, because your self-care might differ from someone else's, as long as you're not doing anything detrimental, that's harmful to yourself, right? I'm not going to say your self-care is go ahead and crack and smoke crack. No, that's not self-care. I'm just being honest.
No doctor has ever said your self-care is smoking crack. Let's
Absolutely
put that out there.
We'll just put it out there, right?
Does self-care have to be alone?
I don't think it always has to be alone, but you should take some of it. Now, it shouldn't be with others every single time. You're not a dependent personality or having a dependent personality disorder. Your self-care should at least require at one point alone time. It is important. Because when you're with someone, even if you're with someone and then you guys are both not talking, if you're laying beside like a loved one emotionally, that's comforting, and that can be self-care, right? Now, if you're sitting there talking about what you need to do next, and who's gonna pick up the kids, you or me? I thought it was you. I thought it was
Back
me.
to the only one thing, right? Then you're talking and watching one thing. You only get to do one
Absolutely
thing.
one thing.
But I'm thinking, like, if you played a board game that you really loved with a partner or with a friend, like, does that count as self-care? It's something you enjoy doing. You can be really present and do only one thing. Clear your mind, focus
You're going to be arguing in that board game.
Are you watching my house, Tamara? Because I feel I'm feeling a little victimized right now. You called me out on trash talk, and you didn't know that. I didn't tell you that in advance.
It happens with all great people. We're great at trash talk.
Right, I am.
say we.
That's right. Bring on. You and me, you play spades, because I
have not learned to play spades because of everyone who plays spades knows why someone who does not know how to play spades did not learn how to play spades. So I'm putting that out there.
Right? I think hearts is meaner than spades.
Hey,
hearts is meaner than spades. I'm just saying. I think hearts is meaner than spades, but yes, I do understand. I do.
See?
I know who we are. I understand. Okay, what is your feeling on Monopoly? Because that's my other favorite.
Oh my gosh. And with Monopoly, you know what I think is so funny? With Monopoly, even doctors, they smash their kids at Monopoly. They're like, well, you're going to learn today. I'm not giving you a...
I never let my children win anything. That's my husband
developing that acute skill. And I even sit and watch my 2-year, now they're 3 and 5. I watch my 5-year-old manipulate my 3-year-old, and sometimes I want to go in and help, but then I said, no, my 3-year-old needs to sharpen his skills. So he starts negotiating back, and I've noticed that he's gotten a lot better. So,
Yep. My 5-year-old is trying to learn to manipulate, and he sucks at it, thank God. But so we'll sit here and we'll hear his brother cry, and then we'll hear him be like, no, don't tell mom. It's okay. Look, here's what's going to happen. If you tell mom, she's going to say, tell him you're sorry, and then I'll say I'm sorry, and then that'll be it. But that's all that's going to happen. But if you don't tell mom, look, I'm going to say I'm sorry now. I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do to make it better? No, great. How about a hug? Okay. So we've already done that part. We don't need to tell mom.
I love it.
But if you don't tell mom, you can pick watching tonight. It was my turn, and you can have it. And I'm sat here
giving away all of the goodies.
10 feet away, Tamara, hearing every damn word, and I'm like,
and you're like, okay, I'm gonna
have no game,
my
kid.
son watch the Chris Voss.
And then my husband turns around and he's like, if you're gonna be sneaky, you've got to get quieter. Why would you give him pro tips? He's gonna figure it out. Do not support my children in becoming these manipulative little horrible creatures. They're already taking care of that. You need no help.
Skill set. He's like, check. Next time, But the
Noted.
funny thing
Next
about our
time, keep it
kids is,
down.
well, the funny thing about our kids is that they'll move further away, but they'll tell you that they're going to move further away so that you can't hear what they're going to say. Like, well, there we
No,
go.
come over here so mom can't hear you.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was not slick, my friend. Uh, he has zero sneak. He's like, haha, we're sneaking.
It's kind of like, what's Will Ferrell? Hey, we're streaking.
Yeah.
Everyone look.
Yeah. I do think my children are a lot like Will Ferrell characters in most things. That's probably accurate. Smiling is my favorite. Good news, I saw a dog today. Right? Like, absolutely. That's my kids 100%.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
I cannot believe this, but we are already not just out of time, but a little over time.
How did
And
this happen?
because you're awesome and easy to talk to, but you have to go heal the world in just a second. So before I let you go do that, what have we not talked about that we need to?
I think we just have not delved into my Your Caring Society.
Let's do it.
And my Your Caring Society. It's actually everything that we were talking about. Sin the kid, minus the kids and them trying to sneak. But the Your Caring Society is really built around helping our busy professional women put their health and wellness, aka their self-care, first for at least 2 hours a month. And as I mentioned during our conversation, there are 730 hours in a month. So you can put 2 hours aside for yourself, right? So this society, it is open. And we are enrolling for our March set of cohorts. And the beautiful thing about the society, the way that I've set it up, is that we have expert speakers from different aspects of lives, right? So we have health and wellness, we have weight loss and weight regain, how to get your mind back on track. We have sports fitness doctors who can really get you into the healthy habits and how you can sustain that healthy habit in order for you to feel better, right? We have sex specialists, that's right. And hey, we all need a little bit of that. Jimmy. And also, we actually have so we have our sex specialist. She is a specialist in male and female. So she's a urologist and she's a male and female sex specialist, one of the handful of doctors in the country who's that well trained. And also we have TEDx speakers. We have speakers who will go over sleep specialty, and we have a sleep specialty doc, and also doctors who help us to get over the adversities. So we've had adversities in life. We're not going to let this hold us back, right? We find out ways that we can overcome those adversities, but still move on to achieve our goals, health and wellness goals. And I feel like once you've built this support system, this accountability as a part of your routine, then the rest of your life, you'll start to notice an exponential change in all that's around you. Because the hardest part about trying to sustain a new form within your life, right, is that you don't have any accountability, you don't have the support. And I feel like women out here, we should be here supporting each other. And, this is one way that we can support each other to achieve our goals overall. So that's our Your Caring Society. That's part of our Your Caring docs. And we'll have all that info available for you guys.
I think that is amazing. I'm excited to learn more about it. And all of the links, as you said, will definitely be in the show notes. So people can go there and we'll have links to you as well. So people have questions and want to reach out, be there. Thank you so much, Dr. Beckford, for being funny and engaging and just honest. And this has been fabulous. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. All right. Thanks, Tamara.
And like I said, the job spot will be open for you anytime you want. Thank you so much. You still don't want my job?
Nope.
Okay.
You've been listening to Hey, I Want Your Job. For more information on how you can get your own awesome job, visit ONH Consulting at www.onhconsulting.com. We offer incredible resumes, no-nonsense career advice, and real-world tips for landing a job in today's market. Check us out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Insta for more insider information. Soon, you'll be hearing us say, I'm Michelle Olivier, and hey, I want your job.